Should you pull for Seed, trigger Orphie, Evelyn, or just skip this patch altogether? That's what we're talking about in today's video, guys. Going over every single character we're getting in this current patch, talking about their pros, cons, best in slot partners, and future-proof ability to help you decide whether you should pull any of these characters or maybe just skip them. So, guys, let's just go ahead and hop into all of the pros first of all these characters, starting off with our girl Seed first. And before we hop into Seed, really, I want to talk about where I see this, right? So, in my eyes, this patch, guys, the two main competitors we're really talking about here, or two different classes of competition we're talking about, is DPS class and support class. Both of these I see as support-esque characters, even though she's a stun character and she's an attack type character. I see them playing both more supportive roles than you would see someone like Seed and Evelyn playing. They're both main on-field DPS. They're your main source of damage, right? So obviously each of these groups or characters are weighted a little bit differently in terms of like how much overall value you get from your account. Obviously things like Trigger and things like Orphie here, you get a lot more value out of your account because they're a sub DPS and then they're also a stun character, so they can be used in a lot more different situations, a lot more teams, maybe not Trigger as much, but we'll get to that later in the video. And someone like Seed and Evelyn are both attack type characters, meaning they get power crept more often because that's the main thing releasing in the game. So without further ado, guys, let's go ahead and hop into the pros of Seed first. So first of all, guys, huge buff to help out alternative DPS. And what I mean by huge buff to alt DPS is a lot of like the buff she's getting is like when your characters are on field, you're getting the buff, right? Or they can last up to, I guess, 3 seconds when they're off the field, or you get it for 3 seconds after swap, because their effects will remain until the character goes off field. So when they go off field, they lose the buff and they have 3 seconds, right? Essentially, that's what I'm taking away from that, right? Well, this also means if you're running an alternative DPS, let's say Anton, for example, that doesn't have any off-field attacks, you can switch to him, get the big buff for him, and then use his energy and get her buff back up, which we'll talk about in a second here. But if we're talking about someone like, let's say Orphie, right? Where Orphie's, a lot of her attacks are off-field, they're considered off-field attacks or aftershock attacks. You're not carrying the buff through the aftershock attacks or carrying the buff to Orphie when she's off the field. So it kind of doesn't make sense in a way, and honestly, I don't know if that's good or bad that they don't play together. Honestly, I think it's probably better if they don't play like super well together, so it doesn't make it feel like, oh, she's a must pull and she's a must pull. But at the end of the day, right, I kind of wish that she kind of worked with Aftershock in a way because she's part of Obel Squad, so now she's kind of feel like an odd one out for Obel Squad. That's just my point on that. That's just a little bit of a gripe, but anyways, that's what I mean, guys. She's a great buff to alt DPS. Self-sustaining steel charge, as I mentioned before, guys. She gets a lot of her own charge for whenever you use energy or whenever your allies use energy as well. So take a look at this right here, guys. When the Vanguard consumes energy as the active character, or when Seed consumes energy, for every 1 point of energy, you get 0.5 steel charge back. You need, I think, 240 energy consumed overall to make sure you're getting up to this 120 marker so she can use her enhanced basic attack. But that also means that when your allies are on the field and they're using energy, she's able to take use of this as well and get her steel charge back up. Think of things like Miyabi getting curse stacks back up, or even Alice getting curse stacks back up as well. She can get these stacks when she is off field. On top of this as well, guys, she's also giving energy to the rest of the squad as well whenever you have an extra attacker there. So every single time she does an attack, you give energy back to them, which then creates an Ouroboros circle, guys, of she gives energy here to your teammate, and then your teammate is giving Seed back stuff as well, right? So that's kind of how I see it with Seed there. Don't worry about my bad drawing there. Anyways, guys, next up here, huge multipliers. Yeah, this bitch has some absolutely massive multipliers. Just look at this right here. Almost a 2,000% multiplier from her Crash Strike, which is her max level basic attack here. So absolutely massive there. On top of this as well, guys, she just has pretty big multipliers all around the board. Truthfully and honestly, like fucking massive multipliers, guys. So this is also going to be really good for her damage. On top of the buff she's giving to herself, she's giving to your Vanguard, and then she's also going to be increasing your all-type damage and then ignoring 25% of enemy resistance. So honestly, super good, and she promotes the use of niche DPS. And what I mean by niche DPS is the DPS you don't really use too often, right? Like, I think for most people, Orphie and Magnus, right, or let's say even Hugo, for example, right? I wouldn't say he's a super niche DPS, but like niche DPS in terms of Soldier 11. I think she can run as a sub DPS with Soldier 11. I think she can run as a sub DPS with someone like Sambi, right? It doesn't work the best because of Aftershock there. But if you want to know my full thing on teams, you can go to my Do Not Summon video for Seed to see what I mean by the team builds there. We'll also have a build guide here in a couple days going over how to build Seed and her best teams and how they work and stuff like that. So hopping into Anton, right? Very niche DPS. No one really uses them, but he can definitely be used because he goes through energy so fast. I think characters like Ellen can potentially work. I feel like characters like Evelyn can also really work there as well. So very niche DPS. I feel like she works in slot there very nicely. But that's all I have to say in terms of the pros for Seed. Now let's go and hop into the pros of Evelyn. Great damage floor with an amazing damage ceiling, meaning she is just really good if you play her very basically, but she can get even better the better you can actually play her, right? So the more skill you have, the better she's going to get. Great grouping. One of her abilities allows you to group all the enemies up. So if you have a lot of enemies in one stage, you group them up and then you can do massive damage with her chain attack, right? Pretty easy build. She gives herself, I want to say, free crit rate, right, from her own passive here. Yeah, guys, she's giving herself 25% free crit rate. If you get over 80% crit rate, you're going to be increasing her damage from her chain attack and ultimate damage even more so. So you're getting free stats from just getting crit rate, which you need to be building anyways, so that's really good there. And then you just get some crit damage in the build. Like, always getting free crit rate within the kit is really massive for me, so this does make her build that much easier. Not saying the stats from the W engine is easy to get, but her overall build's easy. Typing is great. Guys, was fire has to be, I think, probably the best, or like it's between fire and physical of what the best class in this game. I mean, look at all these enemies weak to fire here, right? Like, we can go down this list all day. We can tell what the worst ones are, right? Electric, oh, fucking cook there. Like, a lot of enemies in this game are actually weak to fire. It means the better she is, because that means on average you're probably more consistently going to get fire weak enemies versus any other weakness in the game. Now hopping into Miss Orphie the Pros here, off-field sub DPS. Yeah, she literally does aftershock damage. Like, that's her main shtick. She gives buffs to aftershock damage as well. If you have aftershock DPS, like, absolutely amazing there. A lot of these are to herself, and like I said, aftershock characters. So if you don't have aftershock characters, then it's really just kind of a attack buff, which is not the best thing in the world, but still a buff nonetheless, right? Good free stats and self buffs. Yeah, guys, she's literally giving herself increased crit rate, and like I said before, increased aftershock damage for herself. And if you have a stun or support character on the team, anyone with zeroed in, which is the effect you get from literally just by using her, essentially, their aftershock damage is going to be ignoring an extra 25% defense. So if you have aftershock, really good. She gives a lot of buff to herself. Like I said, crit rate is absolutely massive on these characters, guys. Like, the more crit rate they're able to give themselves, the easier it is to build them. That just makes her build so much easier. And she can honestly be using a lot more free-to-play teams. And what I mean by this, guys, is while yes, there's not many, I guess you would say, aftershock characters in the game right now, but overall, like, she pairs up with support or stun characters. Most teams are going to be using a support character or a stun character. Like, I don't care what you say. Most of the time, you are not running a triple assault team. You're always going to have at least a stun character or support character, so she can literally slot into just about every single team in the game, and that's why I love about her so much. Now, hopping into the pros of Trigger, guys. She has a great off-field stun with attack teammate, so if you're running her with an attack teammate, maybe aka like Orphie here, maybe aka like Seed here, maybe aka like Evelyn here. So literally, any character on this banner, Trigger will work with, and she has some pretty sick stuns with that. Low on-field time. Literally, you're in there, you shoot 3 times, which is like maybe 2 seconds, 1 second, and then you do big blast, and then you swap off her. That's all you do. And then a universal stun multiplier, guys. That is honestly pretty sick. It is 35% for 5 seconds. So literally, you stun the enemy, you get extra 35% damage for whoever's on the field. So absolutely massive there. I guess I say whoever's on the field, any attack character that's on the field, right? So good there. With those are all the pros out of the way, let's go and hop into all the cons now, guys. And starting off with the Seed's cons first, a very confused kit. And the reason I say it's a confused kit, I kind of mentioned this earlier, right? She's a part of Opal Squad. She doesn't really match up perfectly with Orphie, which, like I said, probably a good thing at the end of the day, right? Because, you know, it's kind of been sucking ass recently to get, like, you know, 2 characters back to back. They're like, hey, this character plays perfectly with this character. Yeah, brother. Yeah. So, like, I like the fact that we don't have, like, a character that's, like, a match made, like, a puzzle piece fit with the other character. With that being said, though, I would have liked to see more Aftershock put into the game, or more support for Aftershock put in the game, because realistically, the only thing we're getting support for Aftershock is Orphie here, which I guess is fine. But also on top of that as well, I understand why they didn't give her Aftershock. That's because of the fact that she's electric. What the fuck would Sambi be if she had aftershock damage? It would be fucking over for Sambi if she had aftershock damage. No one would use Sambi. It would be her all day because her multipliers are already so high. She already outclasses fucking Sambi in many ways. That's the only fucking silver lining with Sambi at this point, guys. So for that matter, guys, yeah, I mean, like, I understand why they didn't do it, but it does feel kind of confused in that aspect. Now, next, time to burst. Like, her burst requires up to 240 energy consumed to actually get this up, which I find to be a little bit long. I kind of wish it would have maybe been like half that. I feel like it would have been a lot better. Maybe because the multipliers are so high that I don't want you getting damage out that quickly. But I feel like, in a way, this is also a bit of a confusion on the kit part, because it's like, okay, well, you want the other ally to be on the field because you need to re-up the buff on her with your ally, right? But then you also want to give her time to charge up, and once they do that, they completely do that. They completely are going to be charging her ability up. I just feel like it takes a while for her to consistently get this steel charge buff up on a consistent basis, especially if your team's not maxed out with a fuck ton of energy regen. Like, you want characters that are using a lot of energy and using a lot of energy as fast as possible. Next is type. I absolutely hate that she is lightning, because a lot of it, most of the enemies in the game are not weak to lightning. Like, we look at the special enemies here. Okay, the robots weak to lightning, right? But a lot of enemies in the game, genuinely, like, I feel like the least amount of enemies in the game are weak to lightning. A lot of them are actually resistant to electric, I feel like. So it is, I keep saying lightning, electric, you guys get the point, right? Anyways, I feel like the electric, like if you scroll this list here, you can see an obvious bias to ice and ether. So that just kind of makes her less valuable in my eyes until they add more into the game. Also, team building is very restrictive in the sense that you have to have an attack character on the team at all times. She is a buffer. Okay, that's cool. Still really restrictive with the current attack characters we currently have in the game because most of them are really not that good, right? Evelyn, I think, can work on the team there, but like you're not running Hugo on the team there, so that's kind of out of the equation. You're not running any anomaly character on the team. You're not running Yi Xuan on the team because she's a Rapture character. Okay, so you're running Sambi, which is already struggling like a motherfucker with the content. You're already running Ellen. Okay, she's kind of struggling with content, not as much because ice is, well, gets ice on this current meta right now is not very good, but overall, Ellen's like kind of okay in damage. Like you're not running over Zhu Yuan, you're not running over Haramasa, you're maybe running over Soldier 11, and all the other DPS are gonna walk. Like, we need more DPS. If you want my honest opinion, I feel like Seed is a character that's setting more up for the future. Like, she's gonna be not as, like, she's gonna be good right now, but she's not gonna be as good right now. And I think she's going to continue to get better and better and better the more characters we get. So do keep that in mind. I don't know if I put that in the future proof section, but anyways, guys, on to the cons of Miss Evelyn here, right? She really wants a Sig. Extremely expensive team, falls off without premium support. If you really want Astra here, you really want someone like, you know, Trigger here as well, or a really good secondary stunner or support type character that is giving her more damage because she does feel like she falls off a bit without it. Anyways, on to the next con here. High degree of skill to max out damage. Yeah, she is really simple to play at a base level, and she gives you great damage, but to max their damage out, you have to fucking play. Like, you're seeing people doing like, you know, 6, 7 chain attacks, like all in like one burst. Fuck that, I can get 3. I got 3 for you, bud. I'm shit at the game. I fucking can't. I have the technical skills of a fucking 5-year-old when it comes to this game, okay? It's not there, okay? Now on to Orphie's Cons. Main DPS damage is mad. Like, her multipliers aren't really that high, but she's not really supposed to do that anyway, so if you were running players of main DPS, I don't think she works out as good there. I feel like she works much better as a support for Aftershock damage. When you get more Aftershock buffs in there and buff your Aftershock damage dealers, she's good. I feel like she is definitely a sub DPS or a support for Sambi. Anyways, on to the next thing here, guys, is current Aftershock DPS and support will be really non-existent, but practically, right? Because if we look at the current Aftershock characters, we have Sambi, Trigger, and Pulchra. Okay, buddy. Yep, that's all I have to say there with that one. And then lacks ERR from Wenjin. She really does want energy regen, right? And the reason why she wants energy regen, right, guys, is for her attack buff. You need a fuck ton of ERR to make sure you're getting this max 700 attack buff out for your whole team. And if we look at the current W engines that are currently in the game for assault type characters that are giving ERR to you, and you can obviously tell the massive amount of ERR you're getting from her signature W engine here, so it really does feel like you want it. Comparing this W engine here, guys, to all the other attack type W engines in the game, crit rate, crit rate, crit rate, crit damage, crit rate, attack, crit damage, crit rate, energy regen, 50% for drill rig access, so you might as well use that, right? But look at this. When launching EX special attack, it only increases electric damage, so you don't even get this buff here. But at the end of the day, guys, very much so a lack of ERR support from W engines. And then finally, Trigger here, guys. Yeah, restrictive team flexibility. She has to be ran with an attack type character or an electric type character, which is, like, you have a lot of electric type characters, but some of them are anomaly. You're not going to run them there. And also, like, your other attack type characters are kind of meh right now in the game, other than these characters. So, I mean, like, if you're not pulling for any of these characters here, is there really a point? I don't know. Anyways, guys, on to the next one here. So much potential locked behind M1 and R0, bro. Dude, she really does want her W engine. Her additional ability scales off of having crit rate. She is a stun character, by the way. She's not an assault character. So when we're looking at W engine here going into the stun class, like nothing else here gives you fucking crit rate other than her signature, guys. Gives you 24%. Like, you really want this W engine to make her feel functional. Also, M1 as well with her. My God, her M1 is so fucking strong. Literally, guys, your stun damage multiplier increases by an extra 20 fucking %. So genuinely, you just get so much more support after having more vertical investment into her, and it really requires timing to maximize harmonizing shots because there is a cooldown in between the times you can use her harmonizing shots. If you time it up correctly using swaps correctly, you can actually reduce this time to actually get harmonizing shots out. So does require a degree of skill to maximize her playstyle. And if you're very Unga Bunga brain, I mean, she's fine regardless of that, right? But I'm saying she does have a higher degree of skill, so I'm putting this as a con because it just doesn't work like that off rip. Like, you can't just fucking Unga Bunga and spam and it just work. Now on to best in slot partners, guys. This will kind of show, like, if you have these characters in your account, obviously they're going to play pretty well. A lot of these characters are going to be the same characters. Like, if we look at Seed here, Orphie here, and also Trigger here as well, like, literally Trigger, Sambi, Evelyn, Anton. Trigger, Sambi, Pulcra, any support. And then for her, Sambi, Orphie, Evelyn, and Seed. Like, a lot of these characters work within each other. For her, it's a little bit different. It's lighter, Astra, Trigger. But, yeah, I mean, like, if you don't have a lot of Aftershock characters in your account, and I get that she doesn't buff up Sambi, but she does give a decent enough buff to Sambi to make you maybe want to use her on the team, especially if you have someone like Trigger as well. So that's all I'm going to say to that. Anyways, guys, yeah, those are all the best in slot teammates. All right, guys, let's hop into the final portion of this video, which is future-proofing, guys. Yeah, so hopping off with Sambi first here. She's going to be playing well with very low energy skill teammates in the future. So if you have characters in the future that come out and they have a very low energy requirement to activate their skill, she'll be good because the faster they can consume energy, that means the faster she gets her stacks back up, which means the faster she can do her damage, right? So there's that. Also, will become better with better attack type characters. Like, she does give really fucking good buffs. Like, honestly, buffs very comparable to what Astra is giving to your DPS, right? So that's also a really good thing there, and I think she'll be setting up for any future DPS. She can be used as a sub DPS. Like, as long as your main DPS is using energy and consuming energy, she comes in as one big burst, you're good, right? Next, depends on future enemy type. If they do not add any more electric type characters in the game, or they, like, are very slow to add electric type enemies to the game, cooked. That's all I'm going to say to that. Anyways, guys, on to the future proofing of Evelyn here. She could get a buff, but is already falling off. Her W engine is good for a lot of people. So yeah, if you pull her W engine, which is not even really applying to her, then it's good. But other than that, she's really falling off. Take a look at the tier list here, guys. Yeah, she's up here in tier 0.5, which honestly, she probably doesn't deserve to be up here. Like, even if you take a look at any metric here, right? Like, look at where she's at in the current meta, guys. Like, fucking down here below Neko fucking Mata. Like, bitch be so fucking feral right now. As a main DPS, you're below Neko Mata. Anyways, next up, guys, Orphie. She's a great debuffer and buffer for future Aftershock. So basically, she's going to be a mainstay on the team for any Aftershock main DPS. So yeah, there's that, right? Because she provides huge buffs to them, right? Next is going to be Trigger, guys. First of all, guys, she'll be making the team better the more you invest in her. That means you can get more of her stun capabilities with getting her W engine. That means you can get more stun damage percentage when getting her M1. So that's good there. Overall, down bad buff. Like, the buffs are not the best thing in the world, especially if you look at buffs like Jufufu, for example. I think Jufufu gives a lot better buffs. I think Lighter gives a lot better buffs than her. And I think that they'll probably release someone better in the future, surely, right? And then finally, guys, her stun's great on attack-based character teams. If you don't have it on that, then maybe not so good, but she will be a good stunner for any future attack meta until we get someone that is better than her in those attack-type teams, essentially, right? So, at the end of the day, who should you be pulling for? Genuinely, guys, I feel like this is a patch for your Aftershock characters. If you did not own Sambi, if you did not own Trigger already, I think that kind of Orphie off the table for you. I think Trigger off the table for you. I think really you're going to be choosing between both Seed and Evelyn in that circumstance. And if you're having to choose between Seed and Evelyn, I would say Seed is definitely the better option there. She provides a lot more support for the rest of your other DPS or your alternative DPS. So I would say pull for Seed. The only caveat with Seed right now is the electric typing, and they need to add more electric type enemies in the game to really make sure that she's being able to be fully utilized in future meta. Obviously, the patch she comes out in, like, the in-game's going to be catered on her, right? But if the in-game is not catered on her and it's a different typing, you're probably going to see a lot less electric units. I think I've seen one CU defense with literally maybe one enemy weak to lightning the whole time, which is down bad, horrendous, and ass. Then if you're talking like, you have Sam, but you have Trigger, I think Orphie's a great pickup for your account. I think she'll set up the future meta for you. If you want to build out future Aftershock characters, I think that she works for you quite nicely. But overall, I feel like this patch is pretty much a skip. Like, genuinely, guys, I feel like I feel like the characters on here are not bad. I just feel like you'll probably get more bang for your buck if you wait another patch. I think next patch, you'll probably see a lot better characters coming out that probably help your account out a lot more ways than you might think. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I would love to hear them. And that's going to do it for me, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.